Okay, hi everyone. We have Gopesh with us today, and what a wonderful Friday it is. Interacting with a student who got a 99.96 percentile in CAT, has calls from best of the colleges. I'm sure everyone wants to listen to him today on what were his secrets and how did it's not only secrets of success so far. And we'll also try to understand from him what did he miss on, which he does not want students to miss. While we at Hitbullseye, have tons of experience. I myself have more than 20, 25 years of experience. But Gopesh is someone who has just got a very, very good, has just now got a very good percentile, and hence is more related to what is happening in the world, what is happening in this preparation, and will hence help us understand what were his challenges, where did he go right, what he thinks he could have done right to move ahead, because we feel that not everything can be right. But to before I throw it open for Gopesh to start speaking, but I would just like to tell four, five things, three, four things which every student we've seen imbibes and is able to get a good call. First is that the person was very focused and said that, yes, for the next 1 year, 1.5 years, this is going to be what I have to focus my energy on. It is not that there are not going to be any distractions. So someone who's working will have a lot of work pressure. We had in one of the BBKP sessions, which is obviously also available on the YouTube channel, we had one of the engineers working with Mahindra, working till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night, right? Still was able to crack the paper. He felt that maybe if he was not working, he would have given more uh, emphasis to the preparation. But what he did was, even when he used to come back, he used to study and he used to focus and study. That is very important, that all your energies should be focused on one particular thing. There might be, so I gave you an example that someone might be busy with jobs, someone might be having papers, examinations, projects to be submitted in college. So that also adds on to the pressure. But whatever time you get, is you have to actually efficiently manage that time. So that's very important. Another thing is, not everything will go right, but with what calmness are you able to handle that situation remains very, very important, right? So some of you might be having younger brother, sister uh, in the family. They come in trouble, but you cannot be shooing them away. You have to accept and you have to take it along with you. That this is what the situation is. This is how I can maximize the result in this situation. Okay. Third is, anyone who cleared the paper was very humble towards teachers, parents. Please remember, fighting and saying that this is my life or death. No, this is not your life and death. Hang on, right? It's not a matter of life and death. Yes, it's very, very important. But with what humbleness and without fighting are you approaching this thing is going a long way in uh, ensuring your success. So that's very, very important. Last but not the least, we'll talk about some best practices which one should imbibe. But it is not possible that you get everything right. And I'm saying it in the beginning of the session itself, that even if you get 80% of what we're talking about here, even if you imbibe 80%, and even if you follow that 80%, 75%, it's more than good. Okay, in ideal scenario, please don't be influenced with people saying that ये 10 चीजें तो पक्का करनी चाहिए, right? Yes, they are important. They will ensure they will increase the probability of your success. But even if you're able to do 7 or 8 of them right, please, you'll get it. Not every day is going to be a good day during this preparation. And why am I saying it today itself? Because you're entering a high pressure environment. Okay, that you'll be seeing students around you studying. Sometimes your percentiles will be falling, sometimes they're very great. We had a discussion with an IIM student in one of the previous sessions. His percentile also fell to something like between 70 and 80. Hang on, but he did not lose hope, right? So this is from my side. The pattern goes to Gopesh, who's the star of the evening, And welcome, Gopesh. First of
Thanks a
all,
lot.
heartiest congratulations. There's nothing better than seeing students succeeding. However,
So
you know it that competition only increases from here. There's no less competition. But Bache, we really want to hear it from you. What were the things that you did right? What were the things which you did not do right, which you think students, if they imbibe, they will have a higher probability of success? So over to you. For the students, I will request, please keep putting your questions on the YouTube channel. We're live on the YouTube channel. I would be switching on the YouTube channel and be seeing the questions. And rest assured, we are answering all the questions today. Over to you, Gopesh. Welcome. These students really, really want to hear it from you on how do they ensure their success. Yes.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir, for this wonderful introduction. So I'll start with something about myself. I was born and brought up in Ranchi. I did my schooling from there itself. I had an science background along with economics as an optional subject. And after that, I went on to join BITS Pilani and did my mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani. But within those 4 years of my tenure in BITS Pilani, I switched to finance side mainly. So I went on and took a job in Credit Suisse. I was a risk analyst over there. And last October 2022, I switched on to Ernst& Young, and I'm presently a business consultant over here. So this is just about myself, how my life goes on. Apart from this, I am a very I am someone who likes to try lots of new things in life. I love sports. I love playing sports, musical instruments, and I'm also a very avid traveler. I like to travel a lot. I like adventure sports, all of these. So somewhere in between all of this, I decided that after seeing a lot of things in my corporate career, I decided that the MBA is something that is a must in my life. I need to take it up. So I started preparing for CAT in May 2022, and post like prior to that, I was just going through some stuff like reading books. I was a very avid reader. I used to read a lot. I used to follow newspapers, economic news, and everything even before that. So but I took a like once I started with Hitbullseye, the practice, the approach that I followed for CAT, it got more systematic. I One thing that I saw personally in myself is I felt that I was ranking myself every day as to where I stand. So let's say I have a very interesting start to my preparation. I was someone who thought that I'm very confident in data interpretation and logical reasoning, that it did not seem very difficult to me. So I took my first test with Hit Bullseye. That was when I did not prepare anything for LRDI. And what happened is I solved two questions correctly out of the 20, and guessed two more, and ended up getting zero, that is plus three minus three. So it's literally that I started my preparation from zero for all these. But I did not look back from there. I focused on one topic at a time and then went on to build on it. And it's a very step by step process. It's not in one day. You need to imbibe that culture in your daily routine, is what I feel. That you need to prepare, you need to take test, and then repeat this process. So yeah, I was someone who was very good in English from right from my start. I had a habit of reading a lot, and more than reading, I had a habit of retaining what I read, which is what I feel is very important when you are tackling reading comprehension questions. That you end up pace reading the entire passage, but at the end, there are times when I have personally felt there are times when I read the passage in like 2 or 3 minutes, but when I went on to the questions, I think that I'm not able to recall what was there in the passage. So what's more important in reading comprehension, what I feel is you need to retain what you have read. For that, it's very important that you have a constant habit of reading things and understanding them, because once you start understanding what you're reading, it will be very enjoyable for you to tackle all those questions in GAT. Apart from that, I decided that my VRC is pretty much good. I need to focus on my quant, because my maths was also, there are two phases of me in maths. If the questions are easy to moderate, I was very good. I was 90 to 95% of the times I was able to solve them. But if the questions were a bit difficult, I was very, very bad. I just went on to guess the questions. I did not know the exact formula. So I decided that I need a very step-by-step process. I went on to follow materials, and then the one thing that the X factor in my preparation, what I felt, it's although it's a very short tenure that I prepared, but the X factor that I felt is I took a lot of tests. It was like I took one test every day, be it verbal, be it quant, whatever I feel in that day, that I can sit for 40 minutes and take this test. And more importantly, I went to revisit that test honestly, that whatever questions I'm going wrong, those are the actual stepping stones to the success. Because the questions that one gets right, that most of the time you will get that right in the actual exam also. But the questions that you are doing wrong, that is more important for you, as how you grab that concept and don't make that mistake anytime in the future. So this is one thing that I focused more on. On the quant side, I started taking up one topic or two topics a day. I went through some questions, I went through some concepts, and then I started taking back-to-back tests on quants. And once I felt that after 2 or 3 months, I felt that I'm kind of enjoying that. It's felt like, yeah, this is something that I want to do. I Even if like CAT got over in November, I feel that I just need to get a test series or something and start solving those questions again. It was so enjoyable. So, yeah, so once you walk on that road correctly, I feel that it's very much doable for anyone watching this. So this is something what I did not do, and I this is something um, I will speak about the verbal section. Because I thought that I was pretty good. I did not need so much practice. But I would say that if you are preparing for CAT, you must read something every day, be it two-pager or three-pager on editorial, or even something on the mobile. So that is very, very, very much important for people. Don't realize it at the initial phase. Like most people which I have seen, they think that it's not like CAT does not give such high standard passages as reading an editorial of Hindu. But believe me, the passages are like real good. And once you start developing your reading habit, it's only then that you can, because there's a time taker as well. You need to read that passage in 5 minutes and then buckle up all the answers in the next 2-3 minutes. This is not possible if you don't have a habit of going through and reading. So
Okay, so yeah, okay. So I do we have a question on the channel as well, YouTube channel as well. But I have a couple of questions. But what I really liked about the whole thing was, what the if I summarize what he said is, you grow by not doing what is easy. You grow by doing what is important. Okay,
correct.
and that's what he got it right. That's where he went right. That he was doing what he knew is important and needs to be done. And that thing became so enjoyable for him that even when he had taken the paper, he still wanted to do more. That
Right.
that urge was there. I really want to get onto the field and play more. Am I right, Gopesh?
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So
Share a story. So basically, my CAT was on 27th of November. I had a very high fever on 26th of November. But the next day when I woke up, the confidence was so much, like it was boosting inside me, that I just had an urge that I had second slot, but even in the first slot, I wanted to go and take a paper and like solve some questions on that day. So even if you are not well or not keeping in perfect senses, that does not hamper if you have the right mindset and the attitude towards that problem. So that you develop over the months or years of practice. That's not developed in one day.
so a very light-hearted thing. I think his girlfriend is cat. Okay, he does not have a girlfriend otherwise. And no offenses to if his girlfriend is watching. Okay, I'll not ask him about his personal life, but no offenses if his girlfriend is watching this, but his girlfriend is actually cat. Wonderful. But that's the way you have to love something. I really liked it, Gopesh, this line of yours.
Yes, sir.
You have to love something to crack it. You cannot hate it or you cannot feel it that this is like a medicine, I have to take it. No. This is like a daily
Right.
food which you love the most, right,
Correct.
Gopesh? The second
Absolutely.
thing which I really loved about what his preparation is, there was a method to preparation, to the madness method. There was a methodological way. Everyone needs to have that. Okay, he was pointing, he was mentioning, even when he started solving the papers very early, which is very, very important. That's another question, Gopesh. I'm sorry, I'm taking that airtime from you, but you know, many students come to us and ask us, should we take the papers right away? We've not started with our preparation. We are just 10%, 20% through our preparation. Hang on, taking the papers, getting that sense of time management is very important, because it's not only about the questions that you have to do, it's also about the questions that you have to leave. And
Correct. Absolutely correct.
only in time management will you be able to learn this. Wonderful, Gopesh. We have more questions coming on the YouTube channel. But tell us, so you said you used to read Hindu, you got reading comprehension as a part. And I really like the fact that you also mentioned what you started off with a particular conference in a particular topic, but you realized and said, hang on, it was not how can it happen to me? It's like, hang on,
Mm.
this situation can happen in the paper. Let me set it right. Right? Let me set it
That's
right today. Very nice. So it's about not only about intelligence, but it's also about sincerity. He was very sincere to himself. But tell us, Gopesh,
correct.
how did you go about preparing certain topics? Like, okay, you said for reading comprehension, one needs to read every day. What about vocabulary? What about quant? What about DI? So what do you think needs to be done? Though we've been telling our part of the thing that we've observed for the last 20, 25 years, what do you think should be done for these individual topics? Over to you.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So for all these things, the most important thing which I believe is practice. So for quants, let's say I took a test, I was not able to solve a certain. So quant, even every student realizes that he is weak in certain sections. Let's say algebra. So he needs to focus on that first. And just let's say there are 20 questions. You don't just focus on 20 questions in your mocks. Just look at those 4 or 5 algebra questions that you have, and after preparing through all the algebra sessions that you have, are you able to solve those 4 and 5 questions now? If you are able to solve those 4 and 5 questions, then I think that your all the sessions that you have taken is very fruitful. Those are extra 15 marks added to your quant section, and that is very important. That will boost up your percentile a lot. So for that, I would suggest you prepare section wise for cons. Honestly, you take up one section, start solving it entirely, just go through all the concepts, and when question comes from that section in the paper, just pay a bit more attention, and if you are able to solve that questions, honestly it gives you a lot more confidence on taking up the next question.
It does. It does. What about data interpretation? What about logical reasoning? What's your take on it?
Yes. So DILR was, like I said, I started from zero, but then at first my view was that it's just all puzzles, so there is no methodological way to approaching it. But soon I realized that yes, there are a lot of like problems inside problems based on this, and if you don't know the tricks of the trade, you are like it's like a loophole that you will be caught into. It's like a loop that you'll be caught into. So DI LR is like you get 4 or 5 sets. If you are able to solve one set, most probably you will solve the complete set, or you won't be able to solve anything. So I would suggest picking up questions is very important in DI. You pick the right questions. If you get your first 1 or 2 questions correct, then there is a very high chance that you will end up solving one more questions that you would not have been able to solve earlier. This is what happened in my actual CAT exam. I picked a set which happened to be a question that I had encountered earlier while taking my mocks. It was pretty much the same question of so I picked up that question because that was something that gave me the most confidence on seeing that this is something that I can do honestly in like any day. So I picked up that question. That was a 4-part question, 4 question. So I solved all the questions. There was one more that I picked up. I ended up solving that as well. And I targeted in any mocks, I targeted that 2 questions solving in DILR is a must. Apart from that, anything that you solve is an extra bonus to your score. So, but less than 2 is not acceptable. So I targeted 2 questions, even if it took 30 odd minutes, that's okay. If you solve 2 questions right, I felt that this is okay for me right now. But I gradually increased. In actual CAT, I solved the first 2 questions in like 20 minutes. That was pretty amazing. It gave a lot of confidence. And then I ended up solving one more, which was so this is it all takes practice. You need to take, so for DILR, most important thing is you need to look at such type of questions a lot. If you had seen a questions don't vary much from what you would have seen. Actually, there are not much new concepts included. It's all about the tricks that you need to know. So if you had solved a question earlier, it's most likely that you will be able to solve it in the actual exam or later as well. So you need to look at all the different types of questions is very important.
But you feel that the questions get repeated. They asked in the paper. What do you?
Yeah, they are.
And one can, if the study plan, one is sincere, they can relate the question, what are there in the material and what has been asked. And that's where you get a boost. Yes, that
That's right.
confidence.
That's a very big boost. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So sincerity is very important. Please cover the material properly. But then, that's also one of the questions. But I'll ask another question before that. So what do you think? The question comes from Navya. What do you think should be a daily study plan? Should we pick up and cover all the topics, all the 3 sections in a day, or should we go section wise per day? What's your take?
It depends. So personally, what I did is I did not went through all the three any day, because it depends on you. Honestly, it depended on my mood. There were days when I did not feel like doing any verbal reading or anything. I did not want to read anything. I just wanted to sit and solve maths as much as possible. So if you want to do something on that day, just go for it. This is what I feel, because that will be 200 times helpful. Because productivity is very important when you're sitting for CAT. If you sit for 2 hours and then your mind is swaying for 1 hour, it's not really good. So when you sit and you really want to do something for 2 hours, you actually end up getting 200% out of it. So I focus one section at a time in a day, 1 or 2 sections. Maybe there were days when I focused on all three. It depends. But most importantly, I felt that if I want to do cons today, I ended up doing cons the entire day. That's how
How
I.
many hours per day?
How many hours I
That is a
studied?
very person specific, but I'm sure that question's coming
Eh,
shortly. So yeah.
so I studied. I was also working at that time, so I came back from work and I studied around 1 or 2 hours, and then I took a test, which was of some days it was two tests, two sectional tests, which were of 80 minutes, or some day it was a full test, which was another 2 hours.
Okay, very, very nice, very nice. But that's also, and you used to mark all the questions which you were getting wrong, and so it was
That's
a
right.
very.
That was very important.
So if correct me if I'm wrong, it was a very test paper specific approach.
Exactly.
Okay, very nice. That's one of the ways to crack the paper. That's very nice. So test papers are very important. But someone who is still covering the basics. You started in May. Someone has a slightly more time. Is still covering the basics. What do you suggest for them? What material should they refer to? What should they do? How tests साथ में कर रहे हैं, but rest of the time. So let's say a person has 4-5 hours. What should be done at that time? Yeah.
So if you are like still covering the basics, I would say you take up one particular set. Let's say you follow one particular source. That is very important. Don't stray on different sources and start taking something from here and something from here. That's not how it is. Take it from one source. Just complete the entire thing from there itself, which is very important, because if you start straying away in between, you will end up finding that most like 60 to 70% of the things are not completed from anywhere. So every source, be it whatever, every source that is available is like full in itself. So start following one source and then like start preparing from there only.
Yeah, that's very, very important. A to Z of one particular material. Since you're a Hitbullseye student, one particular material, Hitbullseye material, is more than good. Please don't do it that you're referring to 4 different materials, 2 different materials, and not covering everything A to Z. Please don't do it. That's the biggest mistake which anyone can do. Grass on the other side will always look greener, right? Especially या तो आपका बहुत अच्छा स्कोर आ रहा है या बहुत बुरा स्कोर आ रहा है. बहुत अच्छा स्कोर आ रहा है तो आपको लगेगा यार ये मटेरियल अच्छा नहीं है, दूसरे का करता हूँ, खराब हो गया. बहुत बुरा आ रहा है तो लगेगा यार दूसरा करता हूँ, शायद वहां से बेटर हो जाएगा, तो खराब हो गया. बीच में स्कोर आ रहा है तो कुछ तो करूँ, या तो अच्छा हो जाएगा, बिल्कुल ही बुरा हो जाए तो खत्म ही हो गया, राइट? सो all the 3 situations is very right. Refer to one particular material, please. Hand folded request. and do it sincerely. Okay. So the next question comes is, so I think Vishal, we've answered your questions. A question how to do basics until when our basics should be complete. So when do you think till when should a student actually start focusing only on test series after completing the basics? Till when should one be able to complete the basics? That's a question from Vishal.
So I think if you want enough time to get yourself in that test mode, I think you need to complete and get set with all your basics and all your fundamentals before 3 months or 2 months, from
Perfect.
minimum 2 months from
Yeah. Perfect.
because
Perfect.
those 60 days are really important for you to get into the test mode. You need to feel that timer ticking inside you. That's
It's
very
so,
important.
at times I wonder, it's so it's so common. The student who said, we've had multiple BBKP sessions with IIM students, IIM aspirants, and then finally landed up at IIMs. Everyone said 15 September, nothing beyond 15 September. But as soon as you can complete it, but nothing beyond 15 September. Right? Last 2 months, only test series and get into the test taking mode, get into the time management mode. So,
Right.
but what if did all your papers go good? You gave one example, so that question comes from Pradyuman. He says, "How to deal with setback in papers? How did you deal with setback in papers?" Is what we want to understand.
So, like I said, your approach or the way you look at it is very important. For me, a setback was like I get more opportunities to learn today. So, if let's say I get 40 questions wrong, I did not score well. So, I get an opportunity to get 40 new topics today. I start revisiting those 40 topics very carefully, and believe me, in the next test or whatever, if you get one of those or two of those correct, it's a very big boost for you. So like treat it as a learning, like a stepping stone for your next ones, because you need to like results are important, honestly, but you need to focus more on your efforts. That's what's important.
Perfect. And I'll just like to add here, Gopesh, uh, what what does everyone feel? Is our test a part of your preparation, or are the final examination? They're not the final examination. They're part of your preparation. They're part of your study material. Okay,
Right.
so if the approach is that I will learn from it, I'll learn from the mistakes that I've made, I'll move on and improve. If you make the same mistake again, okay, still understandable that you could improve 50% and still made some of those errors. But if you keep making those same mistakes, then hang on, what is your preparation going about? It's you
Right.
going down the drain. These tests are a part of your preparation so that you understand that you may think that you're good in probability, but you are not. You may be good in geometry, but you are not. And hence you need to go back and work. You may be good in reading comprehension, but good in reading comprehension only by reading Reshova, not what is being asked in the paper, or the kind of RCs which are being asked in the paper, or maybe you're good in without stress reading those RCs. And the moment there's a little stress put on you, you go haywire. That is what these mock tests are all about. You have to learn from them and then move ahead. So next question comes from Shivansh. He says, what was your attempt rate and how did you target what question to attempt in the CAT exam? So what was your strategy to attempt a particular question and leave a particular question, and how many questions do you end up doing? Yeah.
So starting from
Good
the
question.
verbal part, verbal was like I personally felt I was very good in verbal right from the start, because I had a very good reading habit, and I used to tackle those questions pretty much well. So in verbals I always tried to attempt all the questions in my comprehension personally. And apart from that, there were some, say, 6 to 7 odd questions that were of different types. So out of those 6 to 7, I tried to attempt at least four of them correctly. Like even if I am not sure of something, I did not attempt. So I tried to attempt 3 or 4 of them correctly. But as it goes to reading comprehension, I tried to attempt all of them. In DILR, as I said, I were two sections out of all those was a must. Anything below 2 for me was not acceptable. I tried to devote my like even if it took 40 minutes, I tried to complete 2 problems correctly. And in DILR, the most important thing is your accuracy. Honestly, if you feel question is, if you are not solving it correctly, don't mark it, because you need to be sure of all your answers in LRDI. Because if you are not sure, then it will end up being a negative on your mark sheet. So in DILR, anything above 2 for me was a bonus. I eventually, just before my CAT, I started pushing for three sets, and that's what happened in my CAT as well. And in quants, I think I attempted 80% of the questions. But again, there as well, accuracy was most important for me. Quants, if 80% of the questions you attempt with like in 90% accuracy, that's well enough.
Okay, nice. So, you know, coming back to again, so what did you do apart from solving these papers? So you said, did you work on your calculations? Do you think calculations are important for quant section? Did you do something differently for DILR? Or was it only these tests that you referred to and you followed that approach of improving yourself from the tests?
Yeah, I feel that I started calculations are really important, and more important is in DILR. I felt that you need to look at diagrams and interpret it very quickly. Like there are graphs and certain pie charts which you look at it, and then you need to understand that there are some parts of the question which you feel are very direct from straight from that pie. So you need to develop a habit of not wasting time on those questions, and if that gets off very quickly, that is a very good bonus for you. But more importantly, in cons, I felt I could have like started developing more time in my calculations, because I took a lot of time in my calculations. So I generally used to skip those like questions for later. But yeah, I ended up like took one topic at a time. I was not very good in algebra per se, so I started with algebra first. I started taking up, I looked at an algebra question and took it up as a challenge that I am going to solve this anyhow. So that is how I improved section by section. Then once algebra was fine, I moved on to probs, I moved on to geometry. So this is how
Yeah,
I
you said that. You said that quant has to be taken, is has to be section specific. And so I got a very high percentile in quant as quant, and I've been teaching quant all through my life so far. I would say the same thing. If someone comes and says I'm not good in quant, that's a wrong way to say it.
that's right.
One needs to understand which topic are you not good at and which topic are you good at. And if
Correct.
with a lot of reading that I've done, so I'm sitting out in my library and talking to you,
Mhm.
and talking to everyone here. And I would say once I've covered different topics, different books, different topics, even reading is not a big deal. That's what you understand only once you've traveled it. Otherwise, this inertia gets built up in the mind. So that's very important.
Correct.
Anyways, we hear it from you, not from my experiences. We hear it from you. So what kind of books have you been reading? You said you were an avid reader.
Yeah, I used to read books earlier, not recently. The reading habit that I developed for the past 2 or 3 years was more of newspapers and other economic articles. So I have all these InShots and Economic Times on my phone. So even if, so I would suggest a very good thing. Even if you are someone who likes to scroll Instagram or Facebook a lot, try to follow those pages where you get something out of your reading. So I
Very nice.
followed a lot of Economic Times and other pages on Instagram as well. So even if I was doing time pass on my Instagram, it was a useful time pass for me.
Right. So that's very good. Actually, even that's what I'll imbibe today from today's session. That I'll follow all these economic times. I though my personal is Mint, personal favorite is
Mm,
Mint. So I'll follow
mm.
all these, and you keep getting these snippets. That's very important. But do you think one should actually read physical, matlab, hard copy newspapers, or it's reading better on the screen? Because ultimately the paper happens on the screen. What's your take?
I think I was personally I was indifferent towards a soft copy or a hard copy. I like anywhere I get, I developed an interest in some topic. I went on to read it for 1 hour on mobile. That's no issue.
Hmm. Now, the best thing about your preparation is, again, from this, again, the same answer comes that you started enjoying your preparation to another level. That,
That's right. Yeah.
that you imbibed it, that was your way of life. Whatever comes in front of you, read it, that's going to improve me. If I'm
Correct.
not able to solve algebra, do it, that's going to improve me. Effort
Yep.
was, I need to improve myself, and that's very important. Even
Correct.
when I was preparing 20 years back, I'll be very frank, my interest used to go towards the section which I was able to solve. But hang on, don't follow me, follow Gopesh, guys. He is he makes more sense than me. And that's how it has to be. So Gopesh, Shivansh asking another thing because maybe it's related to your background. Do internships play an important role in the interview? What do you think?
I think it does. For me, it did. I had interviews for 5 different IMs till now, and all of them mostly there are things that revolved entirely on the work I have done for like 20 minutes, and that was that. So interview is also something that you need to play on that area where you are confident, not where the interviewer is confident. So if interviewer is like going on asking me something that I'm very confident about, which is my work area, which I do every day. So I was pretty much very satisfied with answering all those questions. And that I have felt that went on for like 20-25 minutes in certain interviews. So if you have an internship, that is immediate, that's a ball for the interview to throw at you. Like he's definitely going to ask on your work, what you did and all. And if you're very confident about that, you can play him around that.
राइट मैंने एक क्वेश्चन बोला था कि पूछा नहीं अभी तक किसी ने बट पूछेगा पक्का तो अमन ने वो पूछ लिया हमने आंसर कर दिया बट वी गेट बैक टू दैट क्वेश्चन फॉर एन एवरेज स्टूडेंट हाउ मेनी आवर्स डू यू थिंक इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू स्टडी इन अ डे so then for a good student we'll make it -2 hours for a not so good student we'll make it +2 hours for an average student answer that question.
I think you need to devote at least 3 hours per day. And apart from tests which you are taking, that goes only on the reading part. And you take a test, more importantly, spend another 1 hour in revising that test is more important. Like revisit all your questions which went wrong, and then this like try to solve those again.
Half-hearted 3 hours, Aman, will also not be enough. But
That's right.
2 hours with complete dedication are also enough. Rest
Correct.
depends on what you've done so far in your career. That's very, very important. But I know it's a very logical question. I would not say and a common question. It's a very logical and a common question कि कितने घंटे पढ़ लूं ये बता दो के बाद मेरे ऊपर कि मैं उतने घंटे पेपर करके आऊंगा उतने घंटे पढ़ के पेपर क्लियर करके आऊंगा तो अमन ने बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा है. But anyways, give as much time as you want to. Don't waste your time. That's very important. What all did you do to prepare for your interviews in GD, Gopesh? Shivansh is asking more questions. I am loving it. Yeah, Shivansh. Gopesh, yeah.
So interview, what I learned and what I felt, I saw a lot of interviews earlier. What I felt is interview is about two things: what you know about yourself and what you know about the world. So what you know about yourself, you need to. There's no one else that is going to help you with that. So you have to build it on your own. You need to like what you have done in life, how place from where you belong, all those things you need to prep. And what you know about the world, for that you need to follow GK regularly. It's very important. You need to follow business, finance, news, because that's what comes most of the time from them. And if you have a certain background, let's say you're an engineer, some mechanical engineer, you need to follow those kinds of news, because you need the probability of them shooting a question on you on something that's in your resume or in your background is very much as compared to something coming out of the blue. So they generally try to ask you around the words that you have sent to them. So if whatever you have put up in your resume or in your background and that is being sent to someone, be very thorough about it. There should not be any word that you have missed, is what I feel. And apart from that, I think daily reading GK is I think it's more than enough.
I like to summarize what you just said. If you've not been living and feeling what you've written in your resume, they'll catch you. They will catch you. They are much more smarter than you. And with you, I mean the audience, the complete audience. They're much more smarter than you. Don't try to bluff them. Only if you slept with that idea, that's where you will be. And for multiple years together, that's where you'll be able to answer all those questions. Otherwise, see, even when Gopesh is talking, I'm connecting his different things that he fell in love. Then, he says that I want to improve everything. All the dots are getting connected, right? But when you've just written something to talk about it and you've not lived it, you will not be able to connect those dots. And when you're not able to connect those dots, that's where they'll be able to point out. But hang on, Gopesh, you answered this in the previous question. Why this? Okay, then those contradictions happen, and that's where your interview starts going haywire. So what was your average score in mocks, Gopesh? That's the next question from Harsh. कहता मैं इतना ले आऊं मॉक्स में कि अब मेरा पक्का है. तो आप बताओ कितना ले आए कि पक्का है. Percentile.
Percentile, I depended on, it was above like 85 always, but it depended. If I had a bad day, it went somewhere around 70 as well. But on an average, I tried to score above 90 always.
Okay. So most of the time it was above 90 is what you say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but there are one or two bad days, and that's what happened. And I always give an example. I had a student, Gopesh. Once he got a 99.5 percentile plus, the next year he did not. So it also depends on whether you have your day or not. But
That's right.
you prepare for everything.
Correct.
So that is very, very important. Okay, so please keep asking questions. We have 5 more minutes before we start compiling the session. Okay, so where are we? What are we missing? So how important do you think is GK for the whole preparation? And do you think that we need to prepare for the GK sections? Were you asked a lot of questions on GK in the interview section, by the interview panel?
Yeah, so I felt since I am from a core finance background, I worked in banking and consultancy. They tried to focus more on those current topics, and that came in every interview. All the 5 interviews that I had till now, that came in all of them, and it was pretty extensive because they were like moving the ball from my work to those current affairs. They're trying to connect both of those, is what I felt. It was very like, even if you just knowing that like let's say there is a certain scandal that's going on, just knowing that there is a scandal won't work. You need to know everything about that. That is very important, because they are not going to ask you like what recently happened, what is this scandal. So you will have to explain every bit by bit, and you don't need to give them any point where they can catch you. Right? So yeah, it's must.
Perfect. So I'll give an example there. Last year, Russia-Ukraine war just started, and it was not about that who's right or who's wrong in the interview. They were not asking who's right and who's wrong, and everyone was coming up and saying Russia's not done the right thing. They wanted reasons behind it, because both the sides had their reasons to go to war. Okay, war is not a small thing. Both sides had a reason. Both sides think they are right. Okay, and they went deep into those discussions. However, for Gopesh, with my experience, Gopesh, banking and finance and consulting is the core area of IIMs. They've been teaching this
Correct.
for donkey years. Okay, and hence he was playing on their wicket.
That's
Am
right.
I right,
Yeah.
Gopesh?
Correct.
is is a master in that. Okay, they're interacting with companies, they're interacting with students, they are interacting with alumni who are a part of 60 to 70% are a part of these three fields: banking, finance, and consulting. And that's where Gopesh had to, be really good in answering those questions. So Gopesh, next question comes from another one, from Shivansh. He's asking, how did you beat distractions? As I get distracted sometimes, everyone gets distracted sometimes, some get distracted very often. How did you handle distractions? I'm sure there were distractions. Or were you an ideal student?
No, there were a lot of distractions actually. So, like I said, there is one pretty simple hack which I found out. If you are too much addicted to your Instagram, social media, and Facebook, start following such pages where you'll get such kind of news only. That is one thing that I followed. And so there were certain nights previously when I used to scroll a lot of social media, like watching all those things. But as when since I started following this thing, I and always ended up getting something or the new every night, which was very fruitful for me. Apart from that, there are distractions. There are certainly off days, which I think you must need to have some off days in your preparations, because not you can't be at your best all 365 days in the year. You need to take a time out at some point of time when you feel pretty burned out or something. But taking timeouts every second day is not good, is what I feel. You need to start focusing. You need to. So there is one more thing which I can suggest is you start. So the long-term goals are pretty much, they seem unachievable. But if you start splitting your goal into short-term ones, they are. I think that is much more achievable. That becomes much more achievable. So what I did is, let's say you can't complete entire topic, let's say algebra in or 2 or 3 days. You set a plan for a month that I'm going to study algebra for this month. You can't complete it. So what you do is you take up 2 or 3 subtopics of algebra for one day, start working out that one day, complete that one day, 3 topics. Then after follow this for 3-4 days, and then take a day off. That's okay for me. And believe it, that ends up completing the entire algebra within a month before the actual time that you had planned to. So distractions are to a certain extent they are okay. Everyone has that. We are all human beings. So, but you try to minimize it. That's what's important.
Yeah, distractions will happen, बच्चे. Distractions हर एक की life में होती हैं. Be it your parents as well, but they know their duties, they know their responsibilities. You cannot shirk away from the responsibility when you know that whatever you've done in the past will get rectified, good or bad. Obviously, I'm talking of even better future, but अगर कुछ बुरा किया है, score नहीं किया है, sincerely study for this next 1 year, get into a good B school, rest everything gets washed off. Okay. Strategies, ways, there are enough faculty there at Hitbullseye to help you understand, discuss, mentor you. Very, they're very senior people teaching for like 20, 25, 30 years. Some of them even have been teaching for more than 30 years. So get in touch, seek help. But first thing is that you have to realize that there's a problem on hand. Okay. Distractions will be there. And that's what I said. How humbly are you able to handle those distractions is very important. Next 1 year, this is what is life. Enjoy the preparation. That's very important. In the interview, so someone's asking in the interview, Gopesh, is it important to say, I don't know, to a question which you don't know an answer to? So did it happen with you? And
yeah, a lot of times it happens.
Yeah. So where all did it happen?
So there are always, like, from what I believe personally, if you don't know an answer to a question, if you have a guess on a question, it's better that you don't answer it, because that one question answering wrong one question interview, because they will start picking you up on that particular question only. So if you are not very confident on a question, it's always okay to say I don't know, because like I said, all of us are human beings. They also know. They just check the temperament, that are you able to handle such pressure, that you are, let's say they ask you 3 questions, and then are you able to say 3 I don't knows back to back. That's what important. But yeah, if you are not sure about something, don't start guessing, because that one fine day, that will end up ruining your entire interview. They'll start picking you up on that only.
Perfect. He's answered it so aptly. I'll give you a fundamental for why this answer comes from him. Okay. So when you know there's a student before you, there's a student after you to be entering into the interview room, and you have hence you have a limited time to prove your capability. Would you want to bluff and waste the time which you have available on hand? कि वो तो 20-25 मिनट ही मिले हैं, ठीक है? Wherein I would like to put my best foot forward. So it's better come out of those questions. Don't waste your time. They will still want to understand you more when you say I don't know. And as much as you want to get into an institute, a good institute also wants a good student. They will not reject you just because you answered a couple of questions by saying I don't know. Right? Did not answer a couple of questions. They would rather want to understand you more and check that हम जब reject कर रहे हैं तो हम ठीक जने को reject कर रहे हैं ना कि ये हमारे चीज में fit नहीं बैठता. So that's very important. You need to come out of them, and that's what Gopesh has said. I have 90% of the things which I have, I want to speak about them instead of 10% which I don't. Very right, Gopesh. Wonderful. Navya Khera asks, I downloaded InShots and developed reading habits, but I've started ignoring it and just read the headlines. What should I do? Yeah. So she's downloaded these apps, but is not reading it. So what should she do? Yeah.
Yes, what I feel, InShots is something that gives you a summary of what's happening. That's not how it goes. You follow InShots for your headings, that's okay. But what's more important is start taking those 10 to 15 minutes of reading in one go. That's very important. You need to pick up passages from somewhere else on Google. Let's say Google is very common. You pick up a issue that's going on currently, which you recently heard in the news. Start reading 15 minutes on that topic, even if you don't understand much. But that will end up developing your vocab as well. And also there is one more topic that you earlier did not used to know about, which is now in your arsenal to throw it on someone else.
So again, that's why I said, that's why he's cracked the paper, because his answers are so connected. If you go back in this video, YouTube, this video is available on YouTube. If you go back, he's answered it in another way for some other question. That you need to understand the topics in depth. Okay, in shorts, maybe you can just scroll through it, but that is not going to add to your knowledge, vocabulary, reading comprehension. He said it very clearly. What topics were you studying? Okay, what topics you thought you were scoring according to you? So which were your strengths, which were your weaknesses when you were preparing? Is another question.
So my strengths always was comprehension reading. That was always have been my strength right from the start. I have never skipped a question in reading comprehension up till now in any mock. I
Okay.
always try to attempt all of them. So that is one thing that was my strength. And apart from that, everything was at the start as weakness, I would feel. I have developed a lot in all the other sides. I was not good in difficult maths, like I said. I was zero. I started from zero in logical reasoning, and I developed a lot of tricks over there. So that was a weakness initially for me. There were days when I had spent times on all the four questions of LIDR and ended up not getting even a single one of them. So that was a weakness for me in the starting days. I that all of it comes with practice, sort of.
Very nice, very nice. So did you actually take the previous year CAT papers as well, just to understand, or
I did.
okay.
In the end days, like 10 to 12 days up earlier from my CAT exam, I started following because the thing was I ran short of mock tests. So I needed to find something else on the internet. So that was the most readily available. So I started taking up that.
Yeah, so a very different approach, a very good approach followed. It was a very mock test driven approach which he followed, and he proved everyone that he proved to every one of us that if you enjoy and you follow a mock test kind of an approach, you take the mock test, understand where are you lacking, and you focus. It is a fantastic approach. So let's summarize, Gopesh. Few minutes to what do you think is the most? What should one do? What should definitely one do? Yeah. Even if you did or you did
So
not do, you think it's an ideal way of going about it. Yeah.
So from what I feel is your temperament is very important, like how you approach your preparation. That's very important, and you should be more focused. So everyone should be more focused on his efforts rather than the results. Results in your preparation, they don't matter much. They are your stepping stones. But what you take out of that result is what's more important. Every question that you get wrong is kind of opportunity for you to learn something new, and look at it like that. And most importantly, start enjoying your preparation. That's more important because you don't realize it in the short run, but you are improving day by day. That is very important because that's what all these tests the motive of all these tests are, that you become a better individual when you enter a B school. That's what's important.
So has this preparation somewhere changed the way used to read newspapers, or was it like always a part of your life?
It has kind of like I started reading up more because I developed reading comprehension habit a lot. So earlier I got bored in like two to three topics. That was like I'm done for the day. But now even if I sit for 1 hour or 2 hour, I can read continuously. So this is something that I have developed over these months.
And that's another common thing which comes across is that any student who's cracked the paper, by the time they approach the paper, reading newspapers is such a habit that even if they have any other test, any other examination that day, that skimming of the newspaper still remains very important. And that's how they feel complete that they've done their morning routine, like brushing or whatever, but that's how they feel complete that this was important part of the day. Also, editorial
Right.
section of the paper remains. Sorry, you were saying something. They want to hear you. Yes.
No, I was just correcting. Yeah, reading is very important. That has been an integral part, and that is really very important because it's not only important from the perspective of your VARC section in CAT, but it helps more in your interview phase. That's what I felt. That some news that you read 6 months down earlier is going to help you in one sudden interview, which you would not have realized when you read it initially. But that is going to help you in your future.
Perfect, perfect. That editorial remains the heart of the newspaper, and hence, please do not, your newspaper is incomplete if you've not read the editorial. That's where the best English lies. That's where the best vocabulary lies. That's where the best understanding lies. That's where the opinion lies. That's where you will be able to answer the question based on opinions. Okay, and compare the opinions, debate the opinions. That's where most of the knowledge comes from. Okay. Uh, so anything else, Gopesh? Otherwise, I'll start summarizing.
I think that's all. I would just suggest that it's all pretty much doable for all those watching, and
So, chalo,
don't get a setback by one bad day. It all happens here. Everyone has ups and downs in life. So yeah, do best and start believing in yourself. That's what's most important in this preparation.
perfect, perfect. So one question comes up before we. What was the schedule for covering the CAT syllabus? Though I feel it was a
Uh,
very test-driven approach. What's your take on it? Am I
Yeah,
right?
you're right. I picked up one topic which I felt I am lacking, and that so test for me was like a mirror that it showed me that you are not good in this thing. So start buckling up on something. So I took up one topic and I started preparing for that, and it took around 3 or 4 days I was able to finish up that topic. Then I started switching to something else. But most importantly is before 2 months of CAT, I had covered 90 to 100% of the things. I did not require to go anything else apart from that. Then it was entirely tests. I was just focusing on how I manage time, start trying out different approaches. That's what's important in those 2 months.
Right. So great, great, Gopesh. I think Gopesh has answered quite a lot of questions, cleared the clouds over quite a lot of doubts that we have, that you might have had, that the preparation still remains the same. Okay. If you are leaving in the initial few months, if you're leaving an area where you are weak, hang on, you're hitting yourself in the foot. Please don't do it. Work on it. That's where you grow. Focusing on something that you don't know and improving is where you grow. It's not about doing what you know. Second, please, there are always myths. And Gupesh, आप बिल्कुल ठीक थे कि जब हम start करते हैं preparation तो ऐसे ही लगता है कि ये तो हो ही जाएगा. But the test shows us the real picture कि ये होगा कि नहीं होगा final paper में. मैं आज काम कर लेता हूँ उसके ऊपर. Third, which I really loved about Gupesh was the goals thing. He talked about the goals thing, and then he said and there was a method to the whole thing. So it's everything. Complete talk of his is very connected. That the moment he found something he was not able to do, he knew he had time in hand, and he had to improve on it. Okay, reading comprehension became a part of his life. Newspapers are a part of his life. Every day reading something was very important. Even though he was working, focusing on whatever time, 2 hours he was able to study or 3 hours he was able to study was very, very important with full concentration. And one thing which Gopesh also answered, I'm just putting it in my words, that in different words, that हो जाता है, ऐसा नहीं होता कि अगर ढंग से तैयारी ना की जाए तो ना हो. मतलब if you do it properly, please हो जाएगा. You need to have that faith instead of wandering around. Am I right, Gopesh?
Absolutely correct.
So with this, thank you so very much, Gopesh. I wish you, we all the students listening to you, which wish you, and all the faculty at Hitbullseye, I wish you a very, very bright career ahead. We'll see you
Thanks a
again.
lot.
We are always
Definitely.
associated with all our students. We'll see you again in one way or the other. Like I was a student with them. It's been 20 years. There's such wonderful people. They don't let me go anywhere else. So we'll see you again somewhere, in some way. But till then, keep progressing, keep moving
Thanks a
ahead.
lot. Thanks a lot.
Our best wishes, our help always with you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you to all of you as well for providing me this opportunity to share all these things with all of you. It was
Best
really good
practices,
session.
best practices are always welcome. The students are such key, the best thing is that students, when they join us, we all know that they want to learn. Just that we want to guide them right. And I'm sure, many of them, even if they get what you just said, they will, they will be on the right path. So best wishes coming for you, Gopesh, on this channel. And
Thank you.
hats,
Thanks a lot.
I would say some of one of them writes hats off to you, Gopesh. Really inspiring. Best of luck for your future, Gopesh, and there'll be many more. And these best wishes, what count in future. And all the best to all
Thanks.
the students. Take care. Cheers. Bye.
All the best. Thank you.